Peace. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Yeah, so I have another fellowship build. Myself, Master Menyelek, and I have a guest. I have another fellowship build. Yeah, who needs to mute something? Guest,
Already.
of course, is Sister Yamina. You all know her as Anu Radio from the chat. And she was brought in 3 seconds ago just to join in on the build.
Going with the flow.
Yeah, go with the flow, you know. I didn't even put your name in there. I wonder if I could do that.
It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Mom, you coming in again, another Shabbat build, you know. Yeah, it's the end of the year. Gregorian year is pretty much done. You know, peace, Sister Yafe. And we have a challenge that we had going on. You know, yeah, definitely give thanks for the challenge. But let's open up the space, of course, giving thanks to the Most High, yeah, and give thanks to Chief Yuya for, you know, sharing this space, collecting all of this information and painstakingly, you know, crafting the system, you know, that he's been teaching us with so much patience and giving us a ability to stand upright and the charge to help everybody, you know, we encounter who's attempting to do the same thing, you know, helping everybody else up. You know, we pay it forward. So we have our bills every Friday. If this is your first time here, we have our bills every Yom Shishi, which is Friday. We have it every Friday evening leading into Shabbat, right, which is the seventh day or Saturday, as you may know it. And today we are talking about the concept or the idea of follow through. And as we're following through, oh, peace, Imanaya. Peace, top tier speakers.
Peace, Imanaya.
Yeah, Imanaya in the place, Baltimore in the building. Yeah, so we're building on what we got to do next. You know, as you all may have been aware, we have our challenge that we had going on, and the challenge was for the month of December. You know, we had our physical challenge, we had a mental challenge, we had a spiritual challenge, we had a love challenge, and we were also challenged to put together our battle plans for the Gregorian 2023. And as we all did it, we all found like different areas where we were strong in, different areas that we were weak in, and you know, which areas were you strong in?
I was stronger in the journals.
Journal.
The journals were good, but the push-ups. Yeah, the push-ups was a struggle. I'm still struggling, but I'm glad I made it to 30 per day. I did do 30 per day, which is better than 3 per day, which is my regular.
Oh, that was your that was your PB.
Oh, five personal best.
Oh,
Five.
personal best was 5. All right. Yeah, I
What
would
was yours?
say journaling, everything having to do with writing or sitting down, sitting still was rough for me. Yeah, I could do the physical challenge, which I still didn't complete because I was doing the most. You know, I didn't make time for it certain days, and I didn't make time to make up for the time that I didn't make. So I didn't complete the challenge. But that's my first question. You know, did you complete the challenge? You know, did you?
I did not complete all my love letters. So no, I did not complete the challenge yet.
Yet.
I didn't send out all my love letters.
But you wrote them.
Yeah, but I have to send them out.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't send out all my letters. I didn't write all the love letters. To be real, I didn't write all of the love letters. I didn't journal every single day. I think I fell off on day 20. Um, the mental challenge, I didn't listen to all of the hours. I don't think I completed anything. I aimed high.
Oh yeah, the reading.
I didn't finish everything. More people piling in.
Shabbat Shalom, House of Herut. Safta Arlene, Safta Ahava, Shabbat Shalom. I think I saw Avaras Kush.
Mm-hmm. We also oh, South G, peace, South G.
Safta OG.
OG, triple OG. How you doing? Hopefully you doing well. Peace, Southern Eats. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Peace talk to your speakers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think I completed anything. I know I did more push-ups than I ever done in a month. You know, same for miles. It's the most miles I did in a month. So in terms of breaking old limits, I succeeded. But in terms of reaching my goals, I did not.
Which one did you enjoy the most?
Running.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what you are. Running.
I actually appreciated meditation the most because I need to sit down. I need to sit down sometimes. Of doing, sometimes I do too much of nothing. Like I'm doing all these small tasks. So the meditation really helped me to focus.
Okay. Yeah. I gotta say I agree. Yeah, the meditation, they force me to slow down because I'm always moving. Like I feel good when I'm moving, you know, which isn't always like, it's like a dopamine how you get from feeling like you're doing something, even if you're not doing anything.
I agree. So where is everyone? Did you go? Oh, okay. Sister Yafe answered.
Oh, she did. Yeah. Unfortunately, I did not. I got 7 hours starting at 5 tomorrow. 7 hours of what? That's push-ups or reading? Yeah. Yeah, let us know. Oh, everybody, you know, in up south to Gertrude in the chat. Yeah, man.
But did anyone complete? Do we have any completions in the building?
Speak now. But if someone was finished, they would have been proud. They would have been the first ones saying, I did mine. You know, mine was good. It was hard at the end, but I finished. Sister Yafi says the push-ups and squats and love letters. Is that what you finished or what you didn't finish? We need some. That's why we need to build in person. We need specificity.
I think that means she completed.
Oh, that's what she completed. Yeah, she completed the push-ups and squats. I would say I completed at certain levels, but not the level I said I was gonna do. So don't count. Oh, that's what she didn't finish.
Okay. Ema Sequoia said, I completed everything but the love letter portion of the challenge.
All right.
You and me both.
There you go.
But I think it shows us where our challenges are. Like,
Yeah. It's still a good thing, you know, the attempt, like you don't get points for the attempt, but you do get experience. Yakira Eden says still got love letters to write and push-ups to do. Okay. Yeah, I still got some of everything. You know,
minus running.
Yeah.
Minus the running.
I still got running to do. Yeah, because since I came here, I stopped running. You know, I was trying to get acclimated to the cold.
But made up in snow sports.
That is true. Yeah. According to my eldest brother, I'm officially a white person. For what it's worth.
Shabbat Shalom, Imakuya.
Peace, Imakuya. Peace. Yeah, man. But that's what we're talking about, right? Having follow through. We started something, we gonna finish. Speaking of starting something and finishing, peace, Aki Rahim. Yeah.
Aki Rahim.
Look who joined the building. Well. He was right there on that ice with me, slipping and sliding. Sliding and slipping.
Oh, man. It's going to be etched in my mind forever. You guys did great.
So I keep hearing, you know, my backside disagrees. But it is what it is. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the final part of the final challenge that we received in that podcast, which you can go and check out. You fell once, right? Sure, buddy. Um, but the final part of the challenge was making sure that you actually do. Oh, you and the. That's right. You all were going through your strengthening period of Rouse Kush. But yeah, man, just you keep doing it. you know. Um, but yeah, the final part of the challenge is putting together a battle plan for 2023. And I wanted to talk about that because this is usually the time of year when people try to do battle plans anyway, but they just call them like resolutions, right? New Year's resolutions, which typically fall off like by like January 3rd. Yeah, so someone with their fast hands, I think they removed us from the screen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but um, Sovereign Each says I have some push-ups and squats to make up for today. Some of my letters still need a postage stamp. I walked, I walked NC like a boss. The meditation came easy, and my journaling was productive. Okay, yeah, that's good. That's good. Backyard kid never left. Okay, cool. Back at it. Let me move out of the way. But yeah, the challenge of putting together your battle plan can sometimes be a little bit peace Mayuba. Yeah, peace to you. The challenge of putting together a plan can be kind of daunting because um sometimes we just don't sit down and plan. We kind of wing it. I'll start and then I'll figure it out along the way. Um the first thing that usually daunts us is just, yeah, she got fast on.
Oh, good.
On too fast. I don't know. She just started touching stuff. But yeah. Coming up with ideas, right? That's like sometimes the hardest thing. What are you gonna do for the year? Because the question was, or at least the challenge was, you come up with three major goals that you wanted to complete for 2023. Um, how hard was it for you to come up with your goals?
It was the 3 goals per month. That was difficult. We're supposed to do 3 goals per month. That's difficult. But I had 3 major projects that I'm working on for the year.
Mm-hmm.
But the 3 goals per month, I haven't. That was the most challenging.
You sure?
Oh,
You sure?
maybe.
So you're trying to give everybody extra work. That's what you're trying to do.
Guess.
So I'll read it out just so we don't have
Oh,
any.
this. Okay, sorry. It was
so we
set
don't
an
have any.
agenda for each
Mm-hmm.
month.
Right. So I'll read it out so everybody knows. That we ain't all overachievers. Um, Plan out the next 12 months. Pick 3 major things that you would like to accomplish in 2023, and set an agenda for each month. Okay, so that was the final aspect of the challenge, which we're still doing. The challenge is not done yet. Um, so yeah, what we're doing now is we're just talking about the idea of putting together a plan. And Chifa touched on this on a couple of segments that I went back and looked into. And he actually did it around this time that year. I can't remember what year it was. It was a couple of years ago, but I definitely recommend that you go back and check out those shows. They'll assist you in putting together your plans. One of them was procrastination, and the other one was planning for victory, right? And those two I always like in unison because they're like on 1-2 punch. Like you're addressing the spirit of procrastination, but you're also adopting a victor's mentality when it comes to leaving no room for escape and no room for like protest for the lesser aspects, or um your lesser aspects, or your demons. Like, no room for protest for your demons, because they can't survive in that productive environment if they're not, if any part of you is not about the mission that you've set for yourself, then it's not going to last as you forge forward through that fire, because you're going to go through fire when you decide you're going to do something. Everything that gives resistance to it is going to fade away at some point. It's going to be burned off. That's some more people. Oh, peace, peace, Chippy, yeah. Yeah, peace. Hopefully you're doing well. But yeah, um, have you ever experienced that sort of resistance to doing what it is that you set out to do? It's almost like a rhetorical question.
Can.
Then play along.
Can. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I have. And usually it's because I'm being disobedient and don't want, or it's fear of going to the next level. Like, I don't know what's on the other side, so I would procrastinate going to the next, doing what I have to do to get to the next side.
Right. What about deciding? Well, it's difficult without headship, but determine what it is that you need to do. Like, this, I guess, could go for everybody. Like, has there ever been an experience where you didn't know what you're supposed to do? Right. So I'll give an example. I'm supposed to be supposed to be in Nassau right now, but travel complications and flights getting canceled, and at that point it's like, okay, what do I do now? And you gotta forge your way forward. You know, there's a point where there are gonna be points where you don't know. I didn't plan for this. I didn't see this happening, and you gotta continue to forge your way forward, and trust that you're not being abandoned or stranded. You know, you have the faculties that the Most High has given you, and you can determine what it is to do next. You've been given wisdom and determination, and you can forge your way through it. Some people may break down and be like, I don't know what to do, you know, and it may just be from not, like, just being used to things going your way, you know, which is what that comfort zone provides.
I've definitely been there. Definitely been there.
Yeah, man, you've experienced it by proxy, just being around me.
Yeah, but I think it's teaching me about faith. You know, having faith in more than myself. You know, beyond myself.
Yeah, man. Here's what could happen though if you don't have that faith or that trust in your creator. You start to look outside yourself for what you should do next. You know, sometimes you are alone and you have nowhere else to turn to or nowhere else to look. The example that Chief gave in the planning for victory segment was a general who had he was in a disadvantageous position, like he's at the bottom of a hill. He had actually positioned his troops with their backs to a river, and what he did was he burned all the boats and their supplies. You remember the one? Burn all the boats and their supplies. And as Chief was explaining that, he said that he removed like the lowest common denominator of people who might be doubtful. You know, you don't have no more doubtful troops. Everybody realizes that if I stay and fight, I might die. But if I run, I'm definitely going to die because I'll get, hit in the back. Right. I'm in the water there on land. Don't catch up with me. So you have to stand and fight. You ain't got no choice. You have no room for protest. And that's where you develop a certain level of tenacity, which is the word for the day. Tenacity. Yeah. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Letter T. But that tenacity helps you to push your way through what you may have, what may be unforeseen. Any sort of kinks in your plans or something that just happens that you did not plan for or you could not foresee. Do you have the strength of will to push through that? And sometimes your inability to foresee something is just through unrealistic expectations, which can take over your planning process, right? Because if you're looking at what other people are doing, especially in today's society, everything is heavily edited. So
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at what other people are doing and like, why can't I repeat these results? But you're taking cues from people outside of yourself or cultures
Culture.
outside of
Mm-hmm.
your own culture, right? And there's a section in the Anu way that speaks to this. It's near the end of the book. It's under the title of Sources of Enlightenment, and I'm just gonna put it on screen for you. We respect all people who are working towards cultivating their minds into a culture that is in orientation with our kingdom, meaning that even if we're sourcing information from sources outside of the culture or outside of our members, there are people who move in a similar orientation. And Danway speaks about this also in a section under alliances.
Mm-hmm.
Where you may have an alliance with another culture, another tribe, another kingdom, another community that has a similar inkling and a similar leaning towards us. And you can move um, in a harmonious way. You know what I mean?
So that an example of you would be like Muslim culture. Mm-hmm.
Mm, yeah, we don't necessarily um, have the exact same mindset or exact same philosophy, but it's difficult to tell the difference from afar off sometimes. You've been yeah, you've been mistaken for Muslim.
Oh yeah.
A couple people asked me if I was Muslim, and they say, "Oh, so y'all just Muslim?" Like, explaining, our new philosophy and certain tenets. Like, yeah, it's like, yeah, you wouldn't be walking outside because I think it was one sister I was talking to, and she was like, "Oh, I'll just Google it." I'm talking to you and telling you what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll just Google it. Like, you're not gonna just find it like that. You can't Google everything. But that again is going outside of the resources that you already have. Here it is, you have a living, breathing, walking person who's telling you what it is, and you're telling me that you're gonna consult AI, as opposed to having an organic exchange. But yeah, man, that's a good example. It's similar, and we can even rejoice in some of our differences because you
Mm-hmm.
can speak and say, "Oh, this is how we do it." So, oh, okay, we do it kind of similar. Um, it was similar to Betty,
Yeah.
right? The Ethiopian friend.
Mm-hmm. But there are some differences, but it's refreshing when the overlap happens because
Mm-hmm.
you can be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're always yourself, but a little guarded sometimes
Yeah, because
around other cultures.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So it also goes on to say, we recognize that the world is full of spirits, but none are to be served. The only spirit that should be served is the one implanted in us by the Creator. So that gives you your clue right there that the plans that you're attempting to make, you don't necessarily need to go to someone and be like, what do you think I should do this year? Or I've been thinking of doing this. What do you think? One of the points the chief had also made in that planning for victory segment is make sure I get this quote right. To foresee a to foresee a victory that the ordinary man can foresee is not the acme of skill, right? And that's a quote that Chief had pulled from the Art of War.
Hmm. What is it again?
To
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's no worries. To foresee a victory
Mm-hmm.
that the ordinary man can foresee is not the acme of skill.
Okay.
And that lets you know that if you're putting together your plans and your goals, what is what the ordinary person would be like, oh yeah, I can see that happening, then it lets you know that yeah, sharpen the tools a little bit, right? As opposed to what scares us about plans, which is you have that internal guidance system, and if you follow that, people outside of you may not understand, or more than likely won't understand where you're coming from or what you're trying to achieve. And that if you're not really secure in that guidance system, then you're gonna feel some type of way. You're gonna feel off. You're gonna feel awkward. It's like, what if I fail in front of people? Everybody's like, I told you so. I told you it wouldn't work. You start coming up with all of these what ifs or buts. Yeah. Um. Oh, Roscoe said, I got asked if I was the 99% up. I'm like, yep, I play for the 49ers. Play for the 49ers. Yeah, man. But we can continue. We can learn from world philosophies, mathematics, thought leaders, and collective brilliance. But these teachings should always, capital always, be filtered by our community elders and successively our family heads. So again, even if you pull ideas from external sources, whether it be secular sources, whether it be even if like the example you gave earlier, a culture that's similar to yours, like an Ethiopian culture, or if you're pulling from, well, I guess it would be like Orthodox, or if you're pulling from Muslim culture, you're still filtering it through your family, um, your community elders, and then your family head.
I have an example of that with the whole Kyrie Irving thing, and with the Hebrew to Negroes video. Like, I couldn't watch that without filtering it through. I got the link. I'm like, I don't think I need to watch this yet. Let me see what Adam says. I think that's an example. Like, being careful what light we ingest.
Right. It's a good example. Okay. But yeah, you're filtering it through your family heads and your community heads. And it's good also because then you don't have to necessarily fall into some of the traps that a lot of people do fall into, which are related to getting their answers from who we typically go to, like the sister did, going to Google or going to social media, and trying to gauge what you should do with your life based on what everyone else is doing with their lives, right? But the only victory that you'd be able to foresee at that point is that of the ordinary man. You can't foresee a victory that is tailor made for you, right? So this is where we need to be careful that our goals aren't glamorized, because this is like these videos are typically designed for people who are going to be viewing them. I want the most people possible to watch this video, so I'm going to make it appealing to others, right? So the very premise of what went into creating that video is I want other people to approve of what I'm doing. Even if it's not correct, even if it's not right and exact. You know what I mean? Like how we may deal with spray mathematics. What's today's mathematics?
Today's mathematics is understanding. Understanding cipher, all being born to understanding. Right. And understanding is the best. Understanding is the mental picture one draws from knowledge and wisdom. Understanding is the star, who is the child in the best part of life.
Right. And it's to see things for what they are and not for what they appear to be. And the cipher is 100 and 360 degrees of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So you got 120 degrees for knowledge, which is the father, 120 degrees for the mother, and which is wisdom, and 120 degrees for understanding, which is the child. Person, place, or thing that's been born through Allah's mathematics. And that's important because it's born through Allah's wisdom. It's born through Allah's mathematics. It's not born through Instagram or YouTube or here's like you how you can make $1,000 in 1 month without doing anything. Everybody has a video like that, and it's a easily saturated market at this point. Anything that shows up on YouTube, you can't tell if it's real or fake until you go through a serious amount of vetting. Um, but that can be time consuming if you're going based on if you have no plan already. If you don't have a set plan, you're not looking for specific resources that you can then filter through your head or someone higher up on the hierarchy, then it can get confusing. You can get confused real quick, fall down a rabbit hole, and not get anything done because you're sifting through a bunch of fluff that was only created for the period of time that the camera was rolling. That's the only time that it needs to exist. There was actually someone did like I don't know if you would call it that. I guess it's kind of like an expose, but they were talking about those videos. Remember I mentioned it the other day where people are like doing bushcraft construction. Like you have one dude with a stick.
Yeah, I love those videos. It's super fast.
Yeah. One dude with a stick and he could build a 6-story high-rise pocket garage out of mud that he got from a river. A lot of them are fake. Yeah. And when it was pointed out because they showed like these are the tractor marks, where the tractor was parked. Here's actually where they forgot to move the tractor out of the shot of the camera. And as the person is digging, you could see them digging like with the stick. You can see the little marks they're making, and then you can see this big from the bucket of the backhoe. You can see this big indentation in the dirt. So they're actually building with a crew, and they swap it out with these dudes who like do the little stick thing, and then they go back to building with the crew. There are some people who actually do it authentically, and some people who just jumped on the bandwagon and say, like, "Oh, this is how I get views." And they were saying that this part I can't confirm or deny. I'll leave that alone. But the point is, you could get tricked into thinking that something so amazing is being done in a short period of time, and you may crunch down the time period that you give yourself to actually get something done, as opposed to giving it its due time and process. Because the authentic videos are usually less glamorous. Video quality isn't as good. Water doesn't look as blue. Concrete ain't as concrete.
So would you say there's a risk when you compare like your journey to others, or is that is it helpful to compare sometimes?
It's helpful when, like Akizak was saying, since he was 5 years old, men learn from other men, from trial and error, or other men who are further along the path. Right? So if you're learning from someone who's further along the path from you, then that's cool.
Okay.
Especially when it's being filtered through your culture and your elders, that's cool. But if you're learning from someone who's pretending to do something that you're attempting to do, then it gets dicey. You know what I mean? Yeah, it gets dicey real quick. Because again, like they actually showed images of these same structures that were abandoned after the videos were made. They made it for the videos. They didn't make it for their own personal use. So even if they completed it, it was like I wouldn't want to call it a hollow victory because they achieved what they wanted to achieve. But if I was doing it, to live in it, and the person only made it for like a 10-minute video, sometimes it's like 1 hour. But if you only made it for the length of that video, then you're not gonna have someone teaching you who's actually experienced it. Like I could show you how to build it, but I don't know how to tell you what to do when it starts leaking or you get some cracks. I can't tell you how to repair it. You got to figure that out. Yeah, man. But that's what comes with glamorizing your goals. That's the danger of what comes with glamorizing your goal, or doing things because you want to bring in some external glory, as opposed to doing it because this is a part of my goal, this is a part of my walk, this is a part of my mission, and I need a level of follow through and tenacity to get through it. But if you're if you're learning from people who are actually cheating, and you're trying to figure out why you're so tired and they're not out of breath, you might be like, maybe this isn't for me, whatever it is. But you have to foresee that victory, that the ordinary man can't see. It's not about you looking at what someone else did and trying to copy it. That can't be the end goal. It could be like a step, just so you could get a little bit of experience and say, okay, I do it like this, I do it like that. All right, but this isn't what I'm trying to build. I just learned how to make a brick. Now I need to know how to make enough bricks to build a structure. How do I do that? I may need to study under an architect too.
Mm-hmm. The glamorizing reminds me of something in project management. It's like the optimist fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're just, which I have done, when I'm so optimistic that I set unrealistic goals. Like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Yeah. Like everything's going to end just perfectly.
Right.
And that's a trap too. Like, you're glamorizing, but you're also not realistically looking at all of the possible outcomes that may happen along the way.
Yeah, you're probably looking at how everyone else is going to see the result.
That too.
As opposed to, these are the steps that I need to follow to make sure that it's actually sustainable. This is what I need to go through to make sure it's actually sustainable, which is where the tenacity comes in. Because after you've gotten through the hard part, because the hardest part is always starting. Once you've started it and you've gotten into a groove, you don't want to stop. You're like, I wish I had more time in the day to do this thing. Especially if like you procrastinate and you hit a deadline, like many of us did with this challenge. You may have started late, and after a while you realize, oh, I actually like this, but you got like 3 days to complete the 10 days that you skipped. It can be you realize how disappointed you are in yourself, which is good because you realize too that I can do so much more than what I'm doing. Kind of like your uncle. He and I were speaking about since we both run, and I was speaking about, I think he had brought up the runner's high.
Yeah.
Like once you started running and you get to a certain point, and it's like it doesn't feel like anything. It feels like you could run forever. That's typically the feeling that you get. And I brought up that you typically experience that after the point where you want to give up. There's usually a certain point where it's like, maybe I'll just run tomorrow. Maybe I'll call it a day. Pack in, call it a day.
Pack up these old bones.
But as soon as you say, no, I'm not going to quit, I'm going to keep going, and give it another like 10, 20 minutes, you don't want to quit at all. You want to keep running, and you wind up running much farther than you plan to.
So that's the trick of the follow through.
That's how you follow through. It's like you get to a hump, or like Chief would call it a plateau. You get to a peak where it's like, okay, this is like, it feels like the highest point that I'm ever gonna get to. But once you hit that follow through, you might hit a plateau, which is good in some ways, right? You hit a peak, then you hit a plateau where you may not run faster, but you can sustain your speed. And you may not speed back up, or you may get your second win as you're running, as you're slowing down, but you're still consistent with it.
Does that plateau, like, okay, so when you're running, does that plateau ever like discourage you?
In what way?
Like, what if you're trying to reach a certain level and you keep plateauing, and then like how do you get past the plateau?
So it's like you've reached your limit almost.
Or you think you reached your limit.
Keep going.
Duh.
It seems simple, right?
Duh.
Yeah, but typically keep going. Like, how many times have you, and I guess everyone else, I won't get answer the question too. How often do you do something and you feel like quitting? Like at a certain point, it's like I don't want to do this anymore, but you push through it anyway. And it's after that point you don't want to put it down. You know, I can imagine even Naya doing it. Like she may be crocheting something, and she's like, "My eyes are hurting. My head." You know, she got that country accent. My head hurt. Got the country accent. You know, my hands hurting. My head hurting. You know, let me just put this down and get some water.
No. You're going to work on that one.
to work on that accent. I get it.
Send Imanai a link. She can come on live.
Yeah, that's true. I should send a link. I was supposed to actually put the link in the chat. That's why you gotta have guests. Imanai laughing. I gotta find that link.
But did anyone experience a plateau during this challenge? The Chief EBR challenge? Yeah. Let us know.
Yeah, man. I reached a plateau with which one was it? It was the writing, the letter writing. I written like 6 in a row in one night, you know, and I just couldn't get over that 6, and then I finally wrote the 7th, and I got up to like 11. Yeah. Relatively, that was good. I know I could do more, obviously, but it was like pushing myself, you know, and I only cried twice. But yeah, those things they strip layers from you, right? And you get to experience a greater quality of life because you're not so rigid and crusty all the time. And they encourage you to keep going. It's like, okay, how much other stuff can I get rid of?
And you feel a sense of accomplishment, I think, once you get past that plateau. It's like, wow, what happens if I stopped?
Right, right. And that makes you think, like, how strong am I? You know, how powerful am I? That's what this challenge has made me ask myself, because it's like I didn't know I could do that many push-ups, you know, consistently. Even though I didn't do them back to back, day after day, there were certain days where I skipped it because I was too sore and I had to double up, like do it that evening and then do it the next morning. And it was like, I feel you know, you get stronger. But yeah, man. So we're dealing with the term tenacity, right? And tenacity, it comes from the prefix 10. 10 means to stretch, right? And tenacity, it includes like gripping or clinging or being steadfast. So it's almost like a level of stubbornness. You know, I decided I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Nobody's going to stop me, especially not me. I'm the last person I should expect that from. You know, any part of me that doesn't want to do it is a traitor. that's sort of the way you got to look at it. You know, you don't harbor a traitor. It's just not smart. But you have that stretch, or that reaching your limit, like we were talking about. So once you see that 10, you know you're dealing with something that's being stretched, like you have tension or tendon, like a muscle, or you even have the number 10, right? You got like all your fingers are stretched. This is I ain't got no more fingers. you know what I mean? I ain't got no more fingers. Yeah, so you dealing with that 10, right? That stretching, and like the runner's high, you've stretched yourself to your utmost limit, and instead of just stretching and going, you know, stretching and going back like an elastic band, what you want to do is do the stretch and then hold it, you know, like yoga. You do the stretching and you hold it, and once you hold that form, or you you hold fast or be steadfast, what you'll find is when you finally relax, um, it's not as hard to get into that position anymore. Maybe in the beginning you can't do like a downward dog, downward facing dog. But if you do it like how we did for 30 days, if you did a 30-day stretch challenge, you'll realize that you could get into a position like nothing.
Mm-hmm. 30-day stretch. I need that. 30-day stretch challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Akira Eden.
Oh, she can do the yoga. All right. Let's go, Eva. Good. Right. So you're stretching beyond your limits, and you want to, even on a mental level, stretch yourself to the point where you can hold that work. Sometimes they call it being in the flow or having a good workflow or being in the zone. He's in the zone. I'm officially white, so I can say that now. All these snow sports. Yeah. So you hold that form, and what happens is when you finally relax, when you go to work at it again, you're much stronger. And what you did yesterday, you do it in a shorter amount of time. So maybe this time you work on your form a little bit more. Now you're doing it with greater efficiency. You just cut down your time again, right? So now you're like, I may need to increase this challenge, or maybe even diversify. I need to diversify the challenges that I present myself with. Maybe I'm okay with writing letters, you know, or maybe I'm okay with writing letters to people I I like and who have done me good. Maybe I need to write some letters to people who I may have wronged and apologize. Maybe that's a different type of stretch or a different type of muscle. You know, and I think Chief had said it's an opportunity for reconciliation too. Yeah. So you have that stretch that you're going to, and when you make sure that your goals are not glamorized, and like this challenge, your goals become cumulative after a certain point. It's like I'm not stretching and then not doing anything for a month or 2 months and then going back to try and stretch again. I'm stretching consistently day in and day out, day in and day out, so I can do more, and I'm constantly getting stronger, you know. And that's what you need to do when you want to follow through, as opposed to just doing it because you said you were going to do it, and you don't want to disappoint yourself, so you do it once and then that's it. Or you may go out with a friend who does it, and you stretch once and you're like, oh, that's good, I need to do this more often. And then the next day you sleep in, and that's the end of that. you know there's so many things that can throw you off of the path once you've decided to do something. And the procrastination comes in a lot because you're not setting clear goals. Your goals aren't concrete, you know and that can be like a hindrance too, because you're trying to stretch yourself in ways that don't really help. You're doing you're playing soccer, but the only thing you stretch is your arms. You're not relevant. Yeah. They are relevant for running, but you need to stretch your legs too. Why wouldn't you focus on your legs primarily if that's what you're using the most? Why would you put gas in your RV that has no tires when you got a whole vehicle that you need to use to get to and from where you gotta go? Mm-hmm. So being very intentional and being very just being smart about the goals that you set. There's life is like we shouldn't be frivolous with the amount of time that we've been given. That's another thing that this challenge has taught me, because there's a lot of time management. Yeah. Like that's like like an unspoken muscle that you gotta exercise, because you gotta make sure that you put in at least put aside at least an hour for just meditation and reading alone. And then you got your walk or your run. You've also got push-ups and pull-ups. You got to make sure that you shower up, you're probably washing clothes a lot more often now. Like it's a lot of time that goes into it, and you got to put aside the things that keep you from doing what points you in the right direction. It's like wheel alignment on your car. You can't have like three facing this way and the next one's like that wobbly wheel in the shopping cart. It's facing east, and everything else is facing north.
And it's also sun up to sundown that we're working with too. Mm-hmm. So that was, yeah, that was. I'm glad I got into that cycle, like doing everything sun up to sun. Like that's a day.
Sundown to
sundown, sundown to
sun up. Sundown to sundown. My fault. Yeah. Sundown to sundown. Ima Yakira Eden says, you came with that yin yoga wisdom, and yes, there were areas that plateaued. The reading I often had to play catch up with, and I lost flow with letters. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I had to catch up with reading too. And it was an audiobook, and I would lose my place. Like I listened to the book initially, and then I was supposed to go back and listen to it again and take notes. I didn't do the notes, so I just wound up listening to it a second time. And I would catch certain things I didn't catch the first time, but it wasn't like a focused thing. It was more like the next point I got to make. It was more like I'm doing it for the sake of doing it because I said I'd do it. Mm-hmm. It was more like one of those things. But we'll get into that. So top tier speaker says, I chose to do level 1 because the challenge for me was being consistent and disciplined. I chose to do level 3 on the push-ups because I knew it was a challenge for me. Okay. Push it to the limit. She's strong. Yeah, man. I did. Probably shouldn't have did it, but I'm glad I did it. I did the highest level I can do on everything, and didn't meet any of the end goals. I'm glad I did it because of the experience, and it's got me into the mode where I'm not stopping. It's like part of one of my agendas is putting together a routine that I could do like consistently. I want to do it the way that any of the warriors that I would see in a movie, like I would idolize. It'd be like they'd wake up and just religiously do this routine, and it keeps them even on a certain mindset when they go to tackle the day. Like, all right, I made sure that every aspect of myself that I need to be strong is strong in order to do what I need to do. And it goes back to doing things that complement your mission. So you may do extra squats when you're a soccer player, or for me, I run, so I was doing like extra long miles. But there was an aspect of doing things that are relevant, and that's like a sneaky sort of thing. It's like a hidden challenge when it comes to setting goals, because if you do something that's irrelevant, you still get dopamine from accomplishing something. So you feel good for going nowhere.
So your subconscious doesn't know the difference.
Mm-mm. It just knows it's like, oh, they did something. Okay. You get a reward, and you go nowhere. It's like a participation trophy. There's no track. There's no road to be the best that you can be, or be the best, period. Which is like becoming a blasphemous statement. Yeah, I'm better at this than you are. You can't say that. Mm-hmm. Or I'm stronger than you, I'm faster than you, I'm more competent than you. You can't say that. You have to say, oh, well, I'm good at some things, but you're good at other things. So it all, so no one's strong, which is some movie, Incredibles. That was like the whole plot of the Incredibles, the animated movie with the superheroes. Well, the villain of that movie was Syndrome, and he was born without superpowers, but he always idolized superheroes. And one day, his idol was like, uh, "I don't, I don't need your help," basically, because he was trying to force his help onto the superhero. He's like, "Nah, go home," So he took it kind of hard. It was traumatizing because of the framework he came into it with. He glamorized the whole thing, and he didn't see it as like, oh well, I can help you out, and if you say no, then I'll do my own thing. It's like, no, I idolize you, and I'm gonna be your sidekick.
Oh, right hand.
Right, like the right hand. And what he did was he caused a whole lawsuit, and that led to basically the end of superheroes. Because one of the superheroes got sued, and everybody started suing him, which is kind of adult for a children's movie. But that's the studio. But what happened was his plan was, I'm going to create a machine that only I can destroy, um, with the gadgets that I built, because he was a genius. He could make stuff. So I'm going to make something that only I can destroy, and I'm going to destroy it in public after demonstrating that superheroes can't. And once I've done that, I'm going to sell all of my gadgets to people. And once I sell all of my gadgets to everyone, everyone has superpowers. And when everyone is super, no one will be. That's his whole evil monologue. And it's like the Tifa always talk about how the society is so homogenized. Once everyone is quote unquote special, no one is special. Yeah, man. Top Jet Speaker says, oh, I already saw that one. But yeah, man. So I did have another question, right? Um, and this is sort of dealing with, I think for me, it would have been art, right? I think that's like the oldest thing that I've ever done where I just stuck with it. I learned it when I was young from copying someone who's further along the path than me. My eldest brother, he drew. He still does to a certain degree, but I liked it so much, I stuck with it. He did this one drawing. I was like, I want to be able to do that. That was it. And I wanted to ask, because we're dealing with follow through and sticking with things, and typically some of the oldest things that we practice and continue to practice, skill wise, is something that we just do because it speaks to us. So my question is, what is the oldest skill that you remember learning that you still practice? I also wanted to ask why.
That's a good question. For me, I would say the DJing, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was younger, I didn't know what it was called. I would just gather all the music. I would gather all the tapes and the CDs from everyone, and then at family functions, I just played them. But I didn't know it was called DJing until I got older, and then I wondered why I was so attracted to it. Even when I went to high school, I'd be like on the iPad, like hooked up to the speaker, DJing then too.
Just give it an aux cord.
Yeah, and everyone eventually expected me to do it.
Right. Yeah. So it's sort of like it's like an attribute in a way, because everybody knows. All right, we need someone to play the music. Right. You don't remember why? Like, what was the thing about it that attracted? Like for me, for drawing, it was the idea that it was just constant refinement. Like if I put a line in a place, I was like, but that looks better here. It looks better like that. It looks better, like constantly building up on something. And I noticed years later that all of the music that I listen to, it follows a similar pattern. Like it starts off really slow, and even like in a continuous pattern, and then all of a sudden it switches up a little bit, and then a little bit more, and it gets more intense, more intense.
Ah, okay. So you like the story it's like almost like a story.
Yeah, okay. It's like a story.
I would say I liked seeing everyone having fun. Like, oh, okay. I liked dance puppets. No, it's the ones who are the most like stiff. I like when they finally just like, got it. And they start like I'm gonna Carlton dance, right? Or my grandfather getting on the table and like moonwalking. Like I'm like, yes, finally. Finally.
All right, but that's kind of ironic because you like breaking people out of their inhibition.
And I know.
Yeah. Yeah, Kira Eden says it's a good point, Master Menyelek. This is why we must be in a position to control how we spend our time, so that we can work the things that truly elevate. Right? Usually you have to sacrifice that time to eat. Safta Hava says sewing. Okay, well, why sewing, Safta Hava? See that? You learn things for people every day. I know. Okay, she does answer. I always find things I want or need that I can make better and cheaper. Mm-hmm. All right, so it's economic. Mm-hmm. That's cool. Even that, of course, we knew. Of course, we knew it was gonna be crocheting.
Naya made it. Check out Naya Made It on Instagram, please. Mm-hmm. Some sick designs.
Yeah, put the plug in now. Why crocheting, even Naya? Where did that come from? And talk to speakers who also crochets, the soft skill of being creative. Okay, this that vagueness I was talking, I was talking about. It's talking about email. Yeah. Okay, so sewing. You can make stuff that you want to make. All right. I like making stuff too, so that I don't have to buy it. Yeah, that was always cool to me. At one point, I think I used to get those. I don't remember what you call it, but it's like an iron-on design for your T-shirt.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I would like try to draw stuff and then turn it into a design and iron it on.
Okay. So you design it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Designer. Okay.
Yeah, but you can keep on going with it. Keep them coming. There was a Boondocks episode that I watched while I was preparing for this, and it's called Riley Was Here, and that was one of my favorite Boondocks episodes. When I used to watch it when I was much younger, because I wanted to like draw, and I liked the idea of doing a mural or doing something big. So in this episode, if you're not familiar with the show, Riley's like the gangster little niglet of the family. And he's always talking about how he loves hip hop culture and rap culture and the typical things you're supposed to like back in those days. Like you're supposed to like Scarface, supposed to like gangster rap with lots of shooting, supposed to like 50 Cent, loud music, big t-shirts, sagging pants, all of that. This is what you were told you're supposed to like. And he just spray painted his name on the house, right? He spray painted Riley Was Here on someone's house in the white suburban neighborhood. Like no one's gonna immediately look at the black kid, who's who's always cursing. But he does it, and one of my favorite parodies on the show, or favorite cameos, Bob Ross, who some of you may know. Like he's famous for being like a painter. He has a painting program, does oil paintings. He paints happy little trees and quiet little mountains. And what he does is he sees Riley painting, and he says, "Huh, okay, I like what you're saying, but keep messing with Riley. He's like, Riley was her. And it's like, it says Riley was here. And it's like, yeah, but you see at the end where it's all crunched up. So immediately he starts teaching him better ways um, to do his art, because he's an art teacher. So Riley gets caught and he gets in trouble. But he's like, a white man told me to do it. And they're like, which white man? He's like, what I look like? Snitchy McBrat? I don't talk to police. So he doesn't snitch on him. And his grandfather decides, okay, I'm going to give him art lessons. That way, if he learns how to draw on paper, you start drawing on people's walls. So he goes to the art teacher, and it's the same person. So he starts learning from him, and they become cool. But initially, he's like, "Well, I don't want to force you to do anything that you don't have to. So why don't you just do anything on the paper, and I'll tell your grandfather, you're done, and you're walking home." And he's like, "All right." So he just makes a small little mark and gives it to the teacher. But as he's walking out, the teacher starts laughing while he's looking at the picture. And he's like, "What was so funny?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing." And he starts laughing again. And he's like, "But I wasn't really trying. I could do better if I wanted to." And he's like, "All right, of course you can." He balls it up and throws it in the trash, because he knows that he's emotionally attached to the art. So he gets him, you know, and you meet someone who's further along the path than you are to give you that guidance, right? And the guidance that he's trying to give Riley throughout this episode is you gotta do what's in you. You gotta bring it out for its own sake. If you bring it out for notoriety or if you bring it out for riches, then you kind of it's almost like you're missing the point when you do it that way. If you only do it for like a desired outcome, as opposed to doing it because it's in alignment with the truth. And it's kind of tricky. It's kind of tricky to wrap your head around it because most of the goals that we're told to set is it revolves around money, right? But to see a victory that the average man can see is not the acme of skill. A lot of people who I've been researching and reading about who made money, they made a lot of money not so they could spend it lavishly. They were notoriously cheap, most of them. They were like frugal. And a lot of people had said, I remember one person who had said um, they were careful. They weren't cheap. And that was a good distinction because you would think that a person who doesn't want all of this money is just cheap. I don't want to spend all this money. Oh, you're just being cheap. It's like, no, I'm just being careful. I want to allocate my resources properly, you know. But Riley eventually says, I want to sign it. But he's like, if you sign your name, for one, an artist who's done his job properly doesn't need to sign his name. And the second thing is, if you sign your name, then we won't be able to interact with each other. I won't be a teacher anymore. You know, in typical Bob Ross fashion, if you sign your name, you won't be able to take my class anymore. And that'll make me real sad. So eventually he doesn't sign the first one. And everyone in the neighborhood sees it. But instead of being outraged, like everyone is moved. And they're like, who's the artist? And he's tempted to tell everyone, I'm the artist. He even tries to get his grandfather to give him like a roundabout praise. And he's like, did you see that drawing on the house? And he's like, yeah, what about it? And he's like, it'll be real great, not that I had anything to do with it. It's like, of course you didn't have anything to do with it. Stevie Wonder could see that you didn't have anything to do with it. And he feels like some type of way. He's like, but I want people to recognize me, I want people to praise me. So he does the second one, and it looks like ODB, basically. It looks like Old Dirty Bastard. And he says, what if I just put an alias? Then on the one hand, no one will know it's me, but on the other hand, no one else can claim my stuff. He doesn't say stuff. But but the art teacher, you can see on his face, like, he doesn't approve, but this is clearly a lesson you got to learn yourself because I already told you not to do it and why you shouldn't do it. So he did it. And the next day he came by to watch everybody marvel at it again, because he's getting off on the fact that he did something that everyone is amazed and impressed by, which is like sometimes is the reason why we set goals in the first place and tell people about them and then not do them. I want to be an astronaut. Oh, that's good, baby. That's good. We'll be an astronaut. That's so good. Yeah, I ain't know nobody who's an astronaut. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to NASA. You're working at Starbucks. you know, Not trying to be an astronaut. If you're working at Starbucks and it's fueling your astronaut career, then cool. But you're working at Starbucks so you could get a Netflix account and get free coffee. So Riley signs his name and he puts R Escobar. He's Riley Escobar. So when they come back the next day, everybody signed in there. Like a whole bunch of people just came by and they just spray painted in there next to his. So everybody's standing there trying to figure out, well, which artist is the artist? So Riley says, all right, let me just tell him, I know it's a shock to everybody, but I'm the artist. I painted this. And everyone laughs at him. And he gets kind of irritated. And his grandfather like punishes him for lying. Mm-hmm. So at that point, he's like, you know what, let me do it a different way. Because the day before, his teacher tells him maybe you should try painting a mural of someone who you love. Maybe someone who's not with us anymore. So he's like, huh. Yeah. And that's when he paints a picture that looks like ODB. Mm. But the next day, he goes into his family's photo album and he gets what I think is never confirmed, but I think is his grandfather's wedding photo of his now deceased wife. And that he paints a mural on their house of him and his wife when they were young. And his grandfather's like, there's no way anyone else could have had this picture, so now I know it's you. And they have a moment, and he's like, it's beautiful. Thank you. He's moved to tears. Like, all right, clean it up. My camera ran out of memory. He's like, what? It's like, nobody tell you to paint a picture on my house trying to prove a point. If you let him draw on paper, this wouldn't happen. But he didn't do it. The last one he didn't do for like notoriety from others. He did it. He kind of did it still because of his grandfather to show him like, no, this is what I can do. But he wanted to be true to the actual work. And he even asked his teacher to help him. He's like, you sure this is what you want to do? He's like, yes, but I need your help. So he learns humility, at least towards one person, right? You don't see humility from that character. But it's about not glamorizing your goals or not doing your goals because you want praise. You're doing it because it needs to be done. And it needs to be done right because you know that this thing exists. In the spiritual realm, all you're really doing is moving stuff around here. It's similar to when you were in North Carolina, right? And I know the things were there, but I couldn't touch nothing because I'm in a different country. Mm-hmm. So I would say, do this and do that, and you would go ahead and do it. It's not that it couldn't be done. It's just from the side that I was on, it wasn't gonna move.
For example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are like some things that I wanted to touch on. Don't be discouraged if it doesn't move along the timeline that you've set. Sometimes you have to pivot. Sometimes you have to change. You can use vision boards or you can use calendars. You can use planners. You can use all kinds of tools to assist you with your plans. But just ensure that your plans aren't being you aren't using templates of what people are doing now. Chief would always say we're supposed to be at the head of the snake. We're not supposed to be at the tail or in the middle. We're supposed to be at the head. The only way you could be at the head is if you're channeling those things that are already there and you're listening to them. So it's a level of obedience. You have to be practical. Just because, take it with a grain of salt when I say don't worry if it doesn't go according to plan. Because remember, we're dealing with tenacity and we're dealing with follow through. So if you're dealing with those things, then you have to understand that no matter what happens, I'm going to get this thing done. And it may not happen on the time that I expected to get done, but it's going to get done. And the fact that I've done it, it helps me way more than being able to do it in the amount of time that everyone else does it on YouTube, where they have all of these jump cuts and edits, and I don't know what's going on in the background off screen. So those are some of the things that I wanted to touch on. Anything that you wanted to add, or anything that jumped out to you?
Just so when you said it comes back to tenacity, because that holding fast, and with the whole thing, that this is a big pivot for me from North Carolina, like attempting to move there and then having to come back. That's a big pivot, and I could look at it as a failure and just be like, and just give up. So this was a helpful build, because going into this, it's a Gregorian year, and it's not our new year, but it's a Gregorian year. So holding fast and staying focused and having faith is big this next season.
Even what happened yesterday with the whole flight situation, you could see the amount of stress that you have to be able to endure without losing your head and be able to navigate it
in the moment. Like you can't come back and be like, oh, I could have done that differently.
Right.
In the moment, what are you gonna do?
Right, because it's not like dress rehearsal. And that's like the roughest part of life. It's not dress rehearsal. You only have the moment that you have for that moment, which is why you have to make sure that all of your wits are about you and you're conscious in that moment, because you don't want to move forward with regret. It slows you down like tremendously. So just do what needs to be done in the moment. If you get corrected, you get corrected. Don't be an idiot. Don't be an a-hole. But definitely move with integrity and righteousness. And whenever you do mess up, because you're moving in a community, if you're moving amongst the community, you're moving amongst people who you respect and who respect you and who understand that you can't be allowed to get away with being half-assed or taking halfway measures to fix problems. You've got to move forward with that tenacity and that follow through to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get it done. And it's a part of having that victor's mentality or planning for victory. I'm burning the boats at my back. I'm burning the supplies because I'm moving on to the next level. I don't need the stuff at this level anymore. It's do or die. Either I make it or I don't make it. And after you get to that other level, you realize you have more fight in you than you realize. You get to see what you're made of. Yeah, man. That was it from me. I'm still interested in seeing. Oh, I think there's some more stuff in there. And I don't see an answer from top tier speakers. Imanaya says, I remember seeing a white bag full of yarn and needles my grandmother carried around making blankets. I wanted to make something too. I haven't stopped yet. And that's exactly the way I start. I saw my older brother drawing stuff. Sometimes I would trace over what he drew. I think I did that like once or twice, and it's like, let me try to do it the way he does it. Again, having that, well, let me try it this way. That's too easy. And it feels like cheating. And I always used to think tracing was cheating. I feel like cheating. So yeah, Sovereign says baking and cake decorating is my oldest skill. And who did you learn that from? What else did I learn? Is that my oldest skill? I think it is. Drawing, I think, is the oldest skill that I still do.
Let's say I did a lot of stuff. Like you met my uncle. He would train us how to run every strong end. So I would say that, and anything physical, any sport. I think that's why I pick up athletics really quickly, because I had to train. My aunts and uncles used to come and take us like tennis camp or sports camp, something with sports. We had to train all the time. So I would say that.
Can't even do a push-up.
Can't do a push-up though. They never trained us in push-ups.
No, it's just
okay. I can shoot a free throw though.
If you miss, I'll make you do push-ups. But that.
Deal.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's it from the chat. That's what I wanted to touch on with the follow-through piece. Takeaways: make sure you meditate on your plans and your ideas. Draw it from within. Don't take your cues from outside in terms of the strategy. The strategy is the overall thing. The tactics is how you get it done. That you can outsource and learn from others. But the whole strategy of this is my goal. It's dangerous to look to others and be like, oh well, I'll do this because this is trending on YouTube right now. The next thing is don't glamorize your goals. You're doing it because this is a manifestation of the truth, and this is what I'm here for, to manifest the truth. But it's a portion of the truth that I've been uniquely designed to manifest. So why not do what I'm designed to do? And the last one is to make sure that your goals are meaningful and they are tethered to your life's mission. Don't, and that kind of goes hand in hand with the glamorization piece, because usually when you don't do what you're supposed to do, is either because you're afraid of it, or you're afraid of what's going to happen when you do succeed. You don't know what's going to happen on the next level, so you think you can't do it, or you know that you can do it, and you don't want to go to the next level either way, or attempt to go to the next level. Sovereign each says, the truth about a lot of our oldest skills is that they were passed on to us by a family member. I learned from my mother and aunt. Good. Yeah, that's very true. Imanai says, true. I learned baking and cooking from my great grandmother. So all of these communal skills, like, it's important. That's why it's important to have your community around you and to be surrounded by your people, and your elders. Yeah, man. So that is it. I give thanks to everyone who came through. Willfully, this helped to ease you into your Shabbat. Oh, peace, Aki, Hamza. I'm sure you got some stories too, because we're talking about skills that got passed on. But we were talking about our oldest skills. Like, what's your oldest skill that you had learned, that you still practice, right? The oldest skills that you learn that you still practice. And from that question, all of the answers so far have been, I learned this from a cousin or a brother or uncle or aunt or grandmother or mother, So I'm interested in learning what yours was. I don't know if we got to do it. If you could put it in the chat real quick. We were just closing out, but we ain't got nowhere to do. Go. We ain't got nothing to do. You busy? I ain't busy. I ain't busy. But yeah, put it in the chat. I'm interested in learning carpentry from my grandfather. There you go. So far everyone has learned a skill from an elder, someone who's further along the path than they are. So that's super interesting, man. I'm interested in learning more about community members. It's always cool to learn more about your people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always good to know what skills everyone has.
Yeah, or what's important to them too, and why it's important to them. Yeah, but definitely give thanks to everyone who came through. And I still sit on a stool that he made over 33 years ago. Dope. That's dope.
That's like a throne.
Yeah, it's like a throne for real. Yeah, man. Cool. That's cool. I appreciate everyone coming through. Willfully, this was helpful, easing y'all into Shabbat. If anyone else is new to the space, you're just coming in. I did not put let me do this. Because I got to set a precedent to do it. Because I never do it. I never put the StreamYard link inside of the chat. I don't know why I don't do that.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm gonna do it just so that it clicks next time to do it.
okay.
All right, but
Follow through.
right, the follow through. That's another thing too, though. The follow through helps with your muscle memory.
That's true.
Yeah, like
That's true.
if you're doing push-ups and someone says that's not a push-up, and they show you the proper form, and you actually do it properly, and the next time you do it, it's gonna be easier to do it. But it can also work in a negative way. I saw this video of some fleas that were put in a jar, and the jar was closed, and the scientist was explaining all we got to do is leave it like that for 5 days, and if I unscrew the lid again, those fleas will never jump higher than the lid for the rest of their lives. I could remove the jar, and they'll still jump in that same pattern. You know, it's a level of conditioning. Spray mathematics, we spoke about it earlier. What we're going to be implementing is, or we're going to be doing something a little fun, starting tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow, starting on the 1st. It may take a while to kick off because this is like, it was no big announcement. We'll probably speak about it more internally tomorrow. But spring mathematics challenge, what's today's mathematics? Um, you do a video on your channel, whether it's your Instagram or your Facebook. You do a video speaking about the day's mathematics, and then you tag 5 people, right? And whoever does the challenge, they will say, so and so tagged me. Now I challenge these people, these 5 people to do it. But you got to do it at least once. And willfully, what that's going to do is help this channel to grow. We'll have some shorts to put up here, and it's going to bring some more traffic so that some more people can grow and learn about community and working with others, and even topics like this, accomplishing your goals, which a lot of people are trying to do. A lot of people are trying to desperately to improve their lives. They don't like where they're at in life at this moment. I'm gonna do it at the oil place.
What did he say? I forgot what he said.
He
It's
just
so
did.
despondent.
Yeah, he didn't like being there. And I don't like seeing it. You have a whole life, and yeah, you got a whole life, and you're spending it doing something that makes you miserable. That's not cool. So sometimes a lot of times I see people like that. I was like, how can I help you? What do you want out of life? And I'm like, Tyrion, nah, that's still, what do you want most in life?
Not Tyrion.
Yeah, but okay, you got some more. Oh, midday affirmative, right? Kicking it back off for 2023. Give thanks, Sovereign Eats, for reminding us. The very first midday affirmative of 2023, kicking off tomorrow on this channel and on Clubhouse, right? We're back on Clubhouse. So we got that going on.
Tomorrow, Sunday. No?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Oh, Sunday.
Yeah. Not tomorrow. Sunday. First day. I get my days mixed up. First day. What else we got going on? Thursday, we got Show and Prove coming back as well. Yom Kamishi with Taki Al Karar. He's coming back with the Code of Hammurabi. So I'm looking forward to that. He's going to be dealing with marriage. The codes related to marriage. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So I'm going to be tagging the peoples. The peoples. Oh, my Uber. I had learned the skill of using tools when I was younger. And I've always enjoyed building, tinkering, and using various tools. Yeah, you look like a tinkerer. You look like you tinker. It will be led by, you're talking about midday, first day, Yom Rishon. It will be led by Ima Yakira Eden, and it's entitled Sabbath Time Healing. So definitely look out for that. we got some good vibes coming. 2023 and our new a lot of dealing with just the value of having right culture and moving victoriously. We don't have time to be moving with that despondent energy of how you doing? Oh, I'm fine, I guess. You guess, you know. But yeah, man, that the level of victory that you move with is contagious. Once you have that can-do attitude about everything, and no matter what comes your way, it's like, huh, the chief you was given a charge. You see a storm coming, you just smirk in the face of the storm, and you weather it, and you do it with grace and the regality that you've been given, because that's what's in your blood. So peace, everyone. Again, be like like a Baptist minister. So peace for the sixth time. Y'all enjoy your Shabbat.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Oh God, Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.